I am going to tell you something that my doctor wrote down, not because he prescribed it, because he had never heard of it and wanted to remember it. I am 103 years old. Every evening at 6 p.m., not 5:45, not 6:15, but 6 p.m., I do something that takes exactly 20 minutes. I have done it every single evening since the autumn of 1962. 61 years, through pregnancies and grief and illness and the deaths of people I loved more than my own life. Through 2 house moves, 1 cancer diagnosis, and a pandemic. Not once did I skip it. My doctor, to say, a careful, skeptical man who does not believe in things he cannot measure, looked at my blood work last year and said, "I don't know what you're doing, but your inflammatory markers are those of a woman 30 years younger. Your cortisol levels at the end of the day are lower than most of my 40-year-old patients." I told him about the 6 p.m. habit. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I've never seen data on this, but I can't argue with what I'm looking at." He wrote it down. I am going to tell you what it is, but first, I need to tell you how it started, because the why matters as much as the what, and because understanding where it came from is the only way to understand why it works. Bridge, 1962. Where it began. In the autumn of 1962, I was 41 years old and I was coming apart. My husband had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition. My youngest child was 3. My mother was dying slowly of something the doctors at the time could not name properly. I was working part-time, running a household, caring for my mother twice a week, and managing the particular terror of watching my husband's face every morning to see whether today was a good day or a bad one. I was not sleeping. I was not eating properly. I had developed a persistent tremor in my right hand that my doctor attributed to anxiety, and which I attributed to the feeling that everything I was holding was about to fall. I had a neighbor, an older woman named Frances. She was in her late 70s then, who noticed. She did not ask me if I was all right. She knocked on my door one evening at 6 o'clock and said, "Put your coat on. We're going for a walk." I said I was busy. She said, "You're always busy. Put your coat on." We walked for 20 minutes. She did not talk about my husband or my mother or my anxiety. She pointed out things. A garden that had been replanted. A cat sitting in an upstairs window. The specific color of the sky at that particular hour, which she told me was called the blue hour, the 20 minutes before dusk, when the light does something it does at no other time of day. When we came back, something had shifted in me that I could not explain and did not try to. I went again the next evening and the one after that. Frances died in 1971. I have walked every evening at 6 o'clock since. What the habit actually is. Let me be specific, because specific is the only thing that is useful. Every evening at 6 p.m. I put on my coat and I walk for 20 minutes, outside, not on a treadmill, not in a corridor, outside in whatever weather exists at whatever pace my body allows that day. The pace has changed over 61 years. At 41, I walked quickly. At 70, I walked steadily. At 85, I walked slowly. Now at 103, I walk very slowly indeed, with a stick along the path I know, to the bench at the corner and back. The pace does not matter. The 20 minutes does not matter precisely. What matters is the going. There are 3 elements that I believe make this specific habit work, rather than any walk at any time. The first is the hour. 6 p.m. is the transition between the active day and the evening. It is the moment when the body and mind are shifting registers from doing to resting, from outward to inward. Walking at this specific transition, I believe, teaches the body to make that shift deliberately rather than collapsing into it. The second is the consistency, not 3 times a week, not when I feel like it, every evening, without exception. 61 years of every evening has built something in my body that a sporadic habit could not have built. A deep cellular expectation that at 6 p.m. the cortisol drops, the day releases. The transition begins. The third is the outside, not walking inside. Outside in contact with changing light, changing air, changing temperature. Frances called it the blue hour, and she was right about what it does. The specific light of early evening, cooler, softer, lower, has an effect on the nervous system that I felt before I had words for it, and that science has since begun to describe. 20 minutes outside at 6 p.m. every evening since 1962. That is the habit. I want to be honest here. I am not a doctor. I cannot prove causation. There are other things I do and have always done that may contribute to my health at 103. But I have watched this habit work in other people, and I have felt it work in myself. And I have a theory about the mechanism that my doctor found interesting enough to write down. The body at the end of a day is carrying the accumulated stress of everything that happened since morning. Cortisol, and the stress hormone, has been rising and falling all day in response to demands, decisions, worries, small frustrations. By 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. in most people, cortisol is still elevated from the day's accumulated load. If you move from the active day directly into the evening, into dinner, into television, into the sedentary wind down, that cortisol does not fully clear. It stays in your system through the early hours of sleep, disrupting the deep sleep stages where repair happens. The 6 p.m. walk, I believe, acts as a physical clearinghouse. 20 minutes of gentle movement in cooling air at transitional light tells the body, through some mechanism I cannot fully name, that the day is over. The cortisol drops. The nervous system shifts. Sleep, when it comes, is deeper because the transition was made deliberately rather than stumbled through. I have slept well for 61 years. Not perfectly. Grief disrupts sleep. Illness disrupts sleep. Age changes sleep. But consistently well, restorative well. My doctor cannot explain my inflammatory markers. I believe, without being able to prove it, that 61 years of cortisol clearing at 6 p.m. has kept a level of systemic inflammation lower than it would otherwise be. And that this, compounded over 6 decades, has something to do with why I am sitting here at 103, telling you about it. The 11 people I convinced to try it over 61 years. I have told 11 people about this habit in enough detail that they actually tried it consistently. Not everyone I mentioned it to. 11 who committed to it for at least 6 months and told me what happened. I want to tell you about 3 of them. The first was my sister Harriet. She started at 68 after her husband died, and her sleep collapsed entirely. She was waking every night at 2 a.m. and could not return to sleep. Her doctor had offered medication. She called me first. Within 3 weeks of the evening walk, she was sleeping through until 4 a.m. Within 2 months, until 6 a.m. She walked every evening until she was 84, when her knees made it impossible. She told me it was the single most effective thing she had ever done for her own health. The second was my friend Gerald, who started at 72, with high blood pressure that 2 medications were not fully controlling. He walked every evening for 8 months. At his next check, his blood pressure had dropped sufficiently that his doctor reduced one of his medications. Gerald attributed it partly to the walking and partly to what the walking had done to his sleep and his anxiety. Gerald told me I go out tense and I come back different. I don't know what happens in those 20 minutes, but something does. The third was my daughter, who started at 55 during a period of high professional stress. She is 77 now. She has walked every evening for 22 years. She told me last year, I cannot imagine who I would be without it. It is the seam of my day, the place where one thing ends and another begins. The seam of the day. That is the best description I have heard of what it does. People ask me how I maintained any habit for 61 years. The honest answer is that I almost stopped 3 times. The first was in 1971, when Frances died. She was the reason I had started. When she was gone, the walk felt unbearably connected to her absence. For the first week after her funeral, I stood at my front door at 6 p.m. every evening, unable to go out. On the 8th day, I went. Not because I had resolved the grief, because I understood, standing at that door, that stopping the walk would be the one thing Frances would have argued with me about most vigorously. She had given me the habit. Stopping it would be a second loss that I did not need to choose. I walked. I thought about her. I have thought about her on many of those walks in the 52 years since. The second time was in 1987, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and began treatment. For 6 weeks of chemotherapy, walking at 6 p.m. was genuinely not possible. I was too depleted. I sat outside instead, on my back step, at 6 p.m. for 20 minutes, in the cold, in the dark of that winter, wrapped in 2 coats, watching the light change from the same place I had watched it from for 25 years. It was not the same, but it was something. It maintained the thread. When I was strong enough to walk again, I walked. The third time was at 94, when my balance became unreliable enough that a fall felt genuinely possible. My family were worried. They suggested I stop the evening walk. I bought a walking stick. I shortened the route. I went anyway. The habit is not the specific form it takes. It is the commitment to the transition, to stepping outside at 6 p.m. and letting the day end in the open air. The form has changed many times over 61 years. The commitment has not. Part 5. What Frances knew. That I have spent 61 years understanding. I have thought about Frances a great deal over the years, about what she knew that made her knock on my door that evening in 1962 and drag me outside. She was in her late 70s. She had buried a husband, raised children through a war, survived things I knew about only in outline, and she was, in a way that I recognized even then, even in the midst of my own crisis, genuinely well, not just physically, essentially well, present in herself in a way that most people are not. I asked her once, near the end of her life, what she thought the walks did for her. She thought about it for a while, then she said, "I think they remind me that I am small." I asked her what she meant. She said, "The sky is always larger than whatever I am carrying. When I go out at 6 o'clock and I see the sky, I remember that. It doesn't make the things I'm carrying lighter, but it makes them the right size." I have been thinking about that answer for 52 years. I think she was describing something that has no precise scientific name, but that the body understands completely. The specific relief of being placed for 20 minutes inside something larger than your own preoccupations. The recalibration that happens when you stand in open air at the end of a day and let the scale of the world correct the distorted scale of your worries. Frances did not know about cortisol or inflammatory markers or circadian rhythm. She knew that going outside at 6 o'clock made her better. She had known it for 40 years before she told me. I have known it for 61. And at 103, with blood work that confuses my doctor, I am still going. The 6 p.m. habit, 20 minutes outside every evening. Since the autumn of 1962. I cannot prove it is the reason I am 103. I cannot tell you it will do for you what it has done for me, but I can tell you what Frances told me and what 61 years of evidence, in my own body and in 11 other people I watched carefully, has confirmed. The sky is always larger than whatever you are carrying. Go outside at 6 o'clock tonight. Put your coat on. Walk for 20 minutes in whatever direction feels right. Don't think about what you're doing it for. Don't measure it or track it or optimize it. Just go, and then go again tomorrow. And the evening after that, 61 years from now, whoever is still here, will understand why. I'll see you in the next one.